Thought Bubble Audio.
Look, up in the sky!
You will never find the more wretched hive of scum and villainy.
Welcome to Beer with Geeks with Tim and Frank.
Who are you?
I'm Batman.
I am Iron Man.
Your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
Hi, Christopher. I'm Nero.
My name is Inigo Montoya.
You're a wizard, Harry.
A couple of guys with a couple of beers and a whole lot of pop culture nostalgia.
Make it so, number one.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Beatles.
Name the dog, Indiana.
Life finds a way.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
Now sit back and crack open a cold one, because it's time for Beer with Geeks.
It comes in pints?
Shaken, not stirred. Great Scott!
I was way off. I knew it started with an S, though.
Hi, and welcome to Beer with Geeks, where two geeks geek out with beer. I'm Tim, and with me, as always, is my man who goes Boba Fett. It's Frank. How are you today?
Hello, hello. I will be here for the first half, and then I'll disappear, and then I'll come back at the very end.
Was it the half? It's like, no,
yeah, about.
It's 7 episodes. It was just, it's about half. All right, well, I'll call you at about 15 minutes and be like, you have
sounds
to,
good.
Maybe like 17 minutes. Like, you have to leave now.
Okay.
Frank, we're here to talk about Boba Fett, the Book of Boba Fett, I should say, not just the character, but the show itself. Star Wars on Disney Plus. Check it out, probably. But before we do that, Frank, could you please tell me what you're drinking today, this morning, this evening, sometime in a 24-hour period?
Sure. Yeah, I am enjoying the good old left-hand Nitro Milk Stout. Yeah.
A classic
Yeah.
for Frank, if there ever was one.
It is. It's
I'm drinking out of my Stella glass, too, Frank.
Oh, we're both
and I'm
using our
also not drinking a Stella.
We are both drinking not Stella out of our Stella chalices, technically.
Our chalices, yes. I'm so
Well,
glad
cheers
that.
to that. What are you drinking
I
out
just
of your
felt
Stella
like I
chalice?
felt like being a little I felt like being a little fancy
Same,
tonight, so
same.
I went for this. I went for the Stella.
You know, the left-hand stout bottle has a thing, that encourages you to pour it hard into a stout glass. I didn't have a stout glass, but this was the closest thing I had. And you want to pour it hard so you get a nice little head, and it Anyway, so I pulled out this glass because it was the closest thing that I had, and what do you know? Both of us.
That's fantastic.
Love it.
Absolutely fantastic. I am drinking a Northwoods Brewing Company Landlocks and Brookies Pale Ale, which your wife was kind enough to get and leave at my house. And so I'm actually working through what she brought. It is delicious. And so I enjoyed it when I had it, when I shared the presence of your company.
Yeah.
And I'm enjoying it again now. It's brewed in New Hampshire, but I can't remember the town. Northwood, because it's just Northwood.
Well, there you go then.
Yeah, and it's a little dry, but not super dry. It's just a 5%. But you know how sometimes pales are like, I could go for a glass of water after this.
Yep. I do. Yes. Okay, I know.
Yeah,
what you mean.
this is a lot smoother. And actually quenches my thirst, which I can't say about a lot of pale ale. So I'm enjoying it immensely.
Nice.
I'm kind of nursing it. I've been drinking it since dinner, truthfully, to be totally honest, because I don't want it to end. But I don't have to finish it soon. Otherwise, it's just going to get gross by the end. It's just going to lose all of its
that won't be
carbonation.
Fun. Won't be fun.
No, it won't. But know what else wasn't fun, Frank?
Oh,
no! No, just no. I'm just kidding. It was fun. It was just the segue. It was too good. No, so let's talk about the Book of Boba Fett. Out of 5, it's like a week 4.
A week 4,
right?
Yeah. If we're
not
doing
quite
halves,
a
I'd say
3.
3.5. But week 4.
Yeah. So week 4.
Yeah, which is how I would describe the first half of the season. A week 4 episodes.
Yeah, got him.
It was. It was. You know what? It got a slow start, but what I heard a lot of fans say, a lot of people complaining that it was boring and that Mandalorian is better. And then a lot of people saying, well, okay, but let's wait until it ends to judge it. Like let's at least look at it as a, because it's a complete story, and we knew it would wrap itself up by the end. So like, let's judge it as a story. It's same with like a comic book run, right? Like you wait for the run to be over, or for that what will be a trade to wrap up,
right?
And you judge it as a storyline.
Yeah, and I was with it most of the time, more than most people were, because I don't have a great affinity for Boba Fett. So the steam of like he's not cool enough or whatever. I'm like, I don't really care.
Yeah,
like,
I didn't think
he was really cool to begin with. The coolest he was when he showed up in Mando season 2 and he took out all those stormtroopers.
That was really
That's
cool.
when he was at his coolest. And I don't think the show ever really reclaimed that. Spoilers for the Book of Boba Fett going forward. Until episode 7, I feel like he got some of that back.
Yeah.
I feel like he reclaimed his edge there a little bit. I don't want this whole show to be complaining, so I'm just gonna no.
Yeah, no.
But
I liked it more than most, I think, did too. I come in with the same like kids loved Boba Fett when I was a kid, and I thought he was cool, sure, but like I didn't really get the hype. And so I'm not as precious about it, not as attached to him, and I enjoyed it. There were I didn't love every episode equally, but I enjoyed it as a whole.
Yeah, I think the fault for me that I had a hard time getting into at the beginning is that it spent a little too long with his journey from the Sarlacc pit, basically back to the Sarlacc pit.
Okay.
Where let's catch up his story. That dragged for me.
Okay.
And I understood it was doing a mixture of like The Godfather and Dances with Wolves. If like everybody was killed in that movie.
Yeah. Godfathers with Wolves, I follow. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Godfather of Wolves. I'd watch that.
Dances with Godfathers? Would you watch that?
I think that is just The Godfather. Now that's the beginning of the movie.
You come to me on the day of
my wedding. Fett. I think that's where it just was a little slow for me, because truthfully, there's a lot of like, oh, he's gone soft, he's this and this. I liked that, and it talks about that a bit in 7. Where Cad Bane, great appearance. We'll talk about Cad Bane later. Where there's like, oh, you've gone soft, and he's like, we all do in our old age. And like, yes, I love that, because I've said for years, you either become the best version of yourself or the worst version of yourself as like the older you get.
Yeah,
and we have so many stories where our beloved intrepid heroes become crusty and mean and old, and like I think like Dark Knight Returns and Logan and even The Last Jedi, and to some extent The Force Awakens with Han Solo and like Leia. Like they've all separated, they're all crusty and old and crabby and all this stuff, and these were the people, these were the characters of optimism for the most part. I wouldn't necessarily say Batman or Wolverine are like super optimistic about life, but they've only went crustier. And so I actually really loved watching the most feared bounty hunter in the galaxy going, I've had enough. I've actually had enough of that. Enough of death, enough of killing people for stupid people to just perpetuate the cycle. I found that interesting.
I found that interesting.
Yeah.
I found it interesting that he decides to go the route of like gaining people's respect rather than just being someone else's mercenary, and just doing a job for the credits. He wanted to make it a better place, make the city a better place, while still I mean, he's still a crime lord, but he's doing it in a way that doesn't hurt the people who live in the city, and that's like it's all about honor.
It is really ambiguous about what the crime is,
because it's not
like,
spice.
So he's like, and that was kind of
it's a protection racket. It's a protection racket.
Okay, yeah. From other roving gangs and Tusken Raiders, maybe, so.
Which the people,
protection racket.
The people of of the city are willing to go along with because they're tired of the
getting taken advantage of.
So they'd rather sort of go with the devil they know than the devil they don't. And he's like, fair. What would he's a sort of a just dictator,
benevolent
dictator. Yeah. That's the word I was looking for. So they're willing to go with that. And, he's got sort of a anti-hero thing going on that the audience will just go along with it.
Yeah. And I found that take a little more captivating because we've seen heroes become crabby.
Yes.
And so to see a villain become soft, that's kind of nice.
Yeah.
And I guess because this is the most time we've ever spent with Boba Fett in a really long sequence, like on screen, I can see why that would be disappointing for people to not see like the Boba they were like waiting to get unleashed, like kind of. But to me, like you can't ignore the fact that he gets like taken out by accident in Return of the Jedi.
Oh yeah,
and like things like that. When you could talk about like, oh, he sabotaged my pack or whatever, and like, or yeah, all right, that's fine, but you still got taken out like a chump. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Like you
I've always said that and will always say that. It's true.
Yeah, and so I am for the characterization that they went for. And I liked that they didn't soften Fennec, which I thought was interesting. Like she's really in it for like because like she owes him because he saved her life. But she's like, you should really be harder. And then like she goes and kills all of the people at the end, which Fett did tell her to do. So
true.
Like there is an edge, and like he I think finds his groove again by the end, and he needs Cad Bane, who is basically what people wanted of Boba Fett this whole time.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. It was so cool to see Cad Bane at all, like in this medium. Like the number of animated characters who have made it into live action in the last several years has just been so cool. From we had Bo-Katan and Ahsoka and now Cad Bane, like so many of these characters who originated in comics, or Chrysanthemum started in comics and now came over to live action.
Yeah, actually, out of those four, because I think those are the big ones that have bridged animation to or different media to live action. Which one has given you the biggest thrill? Ahsoka, Cad, it's probably Ahsoka, right?
Ahsoka, yeah. I watched enough of the Clone Wars to have an attachment to her, and plus, the Clone Wars had just wrapped up its final season on Disney Plus. Long-awaited final season a few months before we saw her on The Mandalorian. So, it had even more impact because it was all fresh. So, those are. She's probably the biggest one. Chrysanthemum was cool though, coming from the comics. Like, I read enough of the Star Wars
comics. Yeah, that one was a big thrill for me because I didn't expect it.
Yeah,
it was a complete surprise, and I was just like, oh my god, it's Black Chrysanthemum. There he is.
Mm-hmm.
Here he is. He's real. I didn't realize I needed a new Wookiee on screen. Sometimes, you just need Star Wars aliens to feel comfortable.
Sure.
Like, I think that was a fault of the sequels where it was like, there's not enough aliens that I recognize to feel like Star Wars. You created too many new things without peppering in the ones that are familiar. And so a lot of Boba Fett is Twi'leks and humans and a Wookiee and a Rancor, Gamorrean guards. Like, I'm like, oh, that's that.
Amy Sedaris dating Jawas. Yeah.
That I just hairy, very hairy,
furry. Yeah,
furry. That's right. She's gotten some mileage out of her character.
Yeah, she has.
For what I would assume was just going to be like a one-off, like how fun for you. She's now been on 2 seasons of one show and another season of another show.
Clearly they really like her.
Well, she's fun.
She's great.
She adds some real fun comic relief. She's the sassy the Outback character, and from any classic Western, and just really I appreciate the kind of the flavor she adds to every scene.
I do too. I feel like this show has taken the Mandalorian. Okay, Mandalorian has been like a Western in space, but this show kind of takes it into a whole different level, a different kind of space Western story, a little bit more rooted in some of the traditional themes of Westerns, right? But with a different spin on them. I mean, when Cad Bane shows up, it's straight out of an Eastwood movie, right? Like the way he appears on the horizon.
Cad Bane himself is just Eastwood.
Eastwood, yeah.
It's funny because I remember watching Mandalorian. I was like, I guess I do care about Star Wars as a Western more than I thought. But then watching Boba Fett, I was like, I care about it less than I thought because I think the Mandalorian is also like it is quite obviously the Knight's Tale.
Yeah.
It's Din Djarin. He's a paladin. He's got his his metal armor, and he's just a knight on a quest. It's like this is the way. He's all about honor and valor. He basically lives by like the knightly virtues. He lives by the code of chivalry. And I think even this season of Boba leans hard into that in his episode.
Yeah,
his first one when they're like when he duels whatever the other guy's name is for the Darksaber.
Paz Vizsla.
That's just thank you. That's just flat out knights dueling.
Yeah,
he's got his shield and they got swords and they're wearing armor that's shiny and they're just fighting on a catwalk. Like they've moved beyond the Western and they're telling a different story.
Yes.
If regular Star Wars is samurai because it's Jedi, and then the Mandalorian is Arthurian legend, and now Boba is the Western. And then, of course, they all bridge over each other, in some way because it's all a pastiche. But they've refocused some of the narratives in other places, and it keeps it fresh. I love that.
Totally, I totally agree.
Frank, I'm sorry, it's 17 minutes. You're out of time.
Oh, okay, all right. So see you later.
Sorry,
you can take it from here.
Thank you. So I would like to spend all the time now talking about the circular city that Mando ends up in, but mostly just the droid that he has to deliver his weapon. He puts he's got to take the bus, and I just think that was great. Hey, what are you still doing here? Get out of here. So first 4 episodes are okay. What I actually really do appreciate is that oh my gosh, what's his name? Morrison. What's his
Tem?
Oh my God.
Tamura Morrison.
Tem. Thank you. He definitely heard the Bubba got a beer gut like comments.
Yeah.
And he got in shape so much that they were like, I'm gonna fight in my underwear.
Yes.
Just so everyone understands that I did the work for this.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate that. I really appreciate
Good for
that.
him,
like
man.
He's in his 60s. Like the majority of this cast across the board until the biker gang shows up are all in their 50s and 60s.
Yeah.
All of them.
Ming-Na Wen is also in her 50s, believe it or not.
She's 58.
Yeah.
No, she's 61? 58? I think she's 58.
No, I think 58. 58. Yeah.
Like, that's so impressive.
Yeah.
What they were doing. And then
that these are the lead characters of a like very
of a Star Wars
anticipated
franchise.
show. Like
yeah. I just think that's great. We've really turned a corner on how old people can be to do stuff, and that's just wonderful. Boba riding the Rancor at the end, I dug it.
I totally dug it. I totally dug it. I mean, they telegraphed it hardcore, right? Like when Danny Trejo brings him the Rancor, he's like, I want to ride it.
I've ridden beasts bigger than this before.
Yeah.
Star Wars Holiday Special.
And I will
you validated the Star Wars Holiday Special.
Yes, that's what it was. And I will point out that Robert Rodriguez directed that episode as well as this episode. So like clearly they were telegraphing that and then letting us know like before this show ends, he will ride the Rancor. And I'm
fine with that. That's great.
I was,
telegraphing is good because then it's not a Deus Ex Machina. It told me it was going to happen.
It was foreshadowing. It was foreshadowing,
exactly.
and they did it. They paid it off.
You told me it was going to happen. I saw it happen. Don't tell me it didn't happen because it definitely did.
So
it was great.
It was great. It was very well done. I've heard. I'm curious what you think about this because we haven't had a chance to talk about it really. I've heard the criticism, or at least the observation of the show, that they wanted to do a Boba Fett show. They created the character of Din Djarin and made the Mandalorian. And then they introduced Boba Fett ultimately, and when they actually everything they had maybe wanted to do with Boba Fett, they had already done with the Mandalorian. So what was left over was what we got for the Book of Boba Fett. How do you feel about that in terms of characterization? I think is what they mean. Like that.
I don't think so. I think that Din is he's a different character than any Boba that's introduced through the course of Star Wars, from Attack of the Clones to Clone Wars to Empire and Jedi. He's a different character.
Yeah.
So there might be some elements to it, like maybe the not taking off your helmet or stuff like that. But they're too different. I don't subscribe to that. And I know there's some complaints about it's just Mando season 3 or half season
2.5.
They said that. They said that.
Yeah, which I didn't realize.
Months and months ago. Yeah, they were like, think of it like Mandalorian season 2.5 because they're all it's all gonna cross together. You're basically doing a few. So they delivered exactly what they promised they were going to deliver.
It's true. Yeah.
Like how dare other Star Wars characters show up in Star Wars?
Right.
How dare you?
Right. Right.
So if they just did what, like Boba Fett showed up in Mando's show, it's just the reverse. I'm fine for that.
Yeah, I'm fine.
Great.
I'm fine with it too. Now that I think about it,
you find when the Arrowverse characters cross over.
Yeah.
Yeah,
or the Marvel characters, right?
Or the Marvel characters. Yeah. It's no different.
I do remember that maybe back when the show was announced, there was. I remember hearing it. I think from some official channel that. The idea was that the episode numbering, how they're, on The Mandalorian, they continued, season 2, episode 1 was called chapter 11 or whatever, because it was they're continuing the story, even though it was a different season. Originally, that was the plan for this, was they were going to, where The Mandalorian left off at chapter 18 or whatever, they were going to call this chapter 19, the first episode of this, and continue the numbering that way. So almost like they're thinking of it like comic book crossovers, right? Like the triangle numbering or something, where it's like you want to read this one after that one.
I kind of wish that they had done that.
I kind of do. It might have been clearer about their intention.
Well, because if you're going into Mando season 3 and they say chapter 19, it's gonna be like, well, I actually need to read that short story, that one shot over there.
Yeah.
Before continuing.
Oh yeah,
this
I'm telling people who watch The Mandalorian but maybe didn't care enough to watch the Book of Boba Fett. Like, I hate to break it to you, but you kind of have to watch at least the last 3 episodes of the Book of Boba Fett. You kind of have to.
That's what my wife is actually. My wife is that. She really loved the first 2 seasons of Mando, and she's like, Boba Fett doesn't interest me. It doesn't look interesting. So she'd tell me if I need to, if it's mandatory watching, and then Grogu showed up, and I was like, now it's mandatory watching.
Yeah.
So we watched episodes 5 and 6. So she caught up with that.
Okay, good.
And I said, there's enough of Grogu, even if we just skip to those parts with him, and for you to catch up and know what's happening moving forward.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
I think that is so. Yeah. So sorry, you have to.
You have to. Yeah, it is. But they did design it where I think you could watch just those last 3, and if all you care about is the Grogu stuff, you'll be fine.
Yeah, the story is not so complicated that you do, like. Who cares if you don't know who the mayor's major domo is?
Yeah,
like
exactly.
That doesn't matter. Yeah, we have not talked about Grogu's reemergence or
Luke.
anything like that. We were actually very good about talking about Boba Fett on his
show,
considering that the Book of Boba Fett. So let's transition over to actually no. Before we do that, were the Pikes good villains? The Pike Syndicate? I don't think so. I thought they were really
no, they weren't. They really
were
weren't
not
that interesting.
threatening.
No, they weren't threatening.
No.
They weren't that interesting in and of themselves. No.
No. Okay. I thought I found the Hutts showing up in whatever episode
yes,
far more interesting than anything that the Pikes delivered.
Well, they were also kind of like they ultimately didn't do anything, but there was tension. Like I felt tense when they were there, like something was about to happen, and it didn't.
Mm-hmm.
But they were more menacing, whereas the Pikes were just sort of like, I don't know, who's this jabroni? Like I don't know, like
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I'm not intimidated by
Exactly.
this guy.
No, and then that's exactly right. Maybe because when we're first introduced to them, we're not really told it's them.
Yeah.
And then we're seeing them like kind of taken advantage of on the train and everything. So like we see them in a position of losing power or lesser power. And then so when they like show up in slow motion descending from the ships, I'm like, I just don't care about you.
Yeah, maybe. That might be it. Yeah.
Yeah. I just don't find you a threatening syndicate. Yeah. But, I'm kind of glad that it was them and not somebody a syndicate I have more attachment to, like maybe like Crimson Dawn or from Solo or Black Sun from Shadows of the Empire. Like
Kanja Club was another one that I heard thrown out there as like a speculation.
Tell that to Kanja Club.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I do kind of have an affinity more for Kanja Club just because of those guys.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So that was like early in the season, someone was speculating maybe it would be them, maybe it would be Crimson Dawn.
Yeah. I mean, the Pikes are another thing. I mean, they're in the comics too. That's another
yeah.
one that crossed its way over. But I'm fine for a throwaway. Just wasn't interesting.
Yeah.
But that's okay. So anyway, let's talk about Din and Grogu coming together, being pals all over again. But let's talk about Din's story first. Let's talk about Mando's story first. So he's back on his nonsense, being a bounty hunter, right? Killing some bulldogs. Great to see. Makes the armor make Grogu a little mithril chainmail shirt. Because Filoni loves Lord of the Rings, and there's a great essay he wrote about Star Wars and Lord of the Rings a few years ago, published on StarWars.com. I can give it to Frank to link it in the show notes.
Yeah, please do.
And again, he gets kicked out. How do you feel about that?
It was kind of inevitable. I feel like either he was going to lie
like
about
Thanos.
it. Yeah. But I feel like it had to happen in one way or another. And because he is, as you mentioned before, because he is guided by that Arthurian code of the Round Table, he felt compelled to be honest and say, like, no, I guess I have taken my helmet off, and it's that very sense of honor that ends up getting him banished. I feel like that's okay because of where they have him. I mean, when he started taking off his helmet more, then it sort of became like, okay, clearly he's breaking from the way, and he's going to find his own new way.
Right, which is being honorable, which is what we see in in episode 7, right? Like, do you really believe in that panther fodder? Like this is the way. Good. That's great. Like, how awesome is that? That's code of chivalry at its finest.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. Bounty hunter to full on knight.
Exactly.
With his own lightsaber.
With his own lightsaber.
Darksaber, yeah.
So, I mean, do you
mm-hmm.
think he's going to end up going back to Mandalore and...
Probably. I mean, we saw Mandalore in, the Night of 1,000 Tears, in this season. So that's a seed.
Yeah.
Because we're gonna do more of this.
Yeah, it's way too important to just gloss over it and be like, that was a fun little visit.
Exactly, because we also got a Bo-Katan little lesson,
yes,
and there, and her significance, and does she have claim or or right to the Darksaber.
Yeah, because that was a question that I had and that a lot of people had when at the end of The Mandalorian Season 2, when we came to understand that you have to win it, in combat. It was sort of like, well, she didn't win it in combat. So what is that? Like, I thought that was a plot hole, just a retcon, whatever. But they explained it, and it made sense.
Right, and they kind of indicates that it's her fault that the Night of 1,000 Tears happened.
Yeah,
the way that they
was like
believe that that it's a curse for you not to win. Yeah, that's a lot to carry for her to carry. So I'm sure she'll be back. There's no way that she's not coming back.
But, a few weeks ago, maybe a couple months ago at this point, Katie Sackhoff, or rather someone at Disney tweeted at Katie Sackhoff something about like, congratulations, so excited for you, and then the tweet was quickly deleted. And there's been a lot of speculation that there might be a Bo-Katan series of some kind coming, or that she's going to be in another one of the Star Wars series that are coming up, and that person may have tweeted it thinking it was public knowledge and then was told to delete it because it's not.
Oh, any of those is good with me, because I think she's a compelling character, and Katie Sackhoff does a great job at live action playing the character that she voiced.
Yeah,
and I think that's a great.
She's like the only one. She's like the only one who got to do that, right?
Yeah, because I know like Corey Burton voiced Cad Bane.
He voiced him. Yeah,
It was him in the makeup. Which, by the way, he looked amazing. Like I couldn't stop looking at him.
Yeah,
it was incredible.
Especially in episode 7, I was just even more like captivated.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just love it so much. He's definitely alive, right?
I think he's alive.
His little chess piece was blinky.
Yeah, I think
he's fine, which is good. Good with me. I'll take more Cad Bane.
Absolutely, I will, and it'll be interesting sort of turnabout, because he was criticizing Boba for the back to tank, and so I wonder what his next
he has Toto something or other, Toto 360, which is like a health, like could possibly save his life, his little droid.
Oh, okay. I'm like, Toto 360 sounds like something I signed up with at my insurance company or something. Like, and now with Toto 360 coverage.
Yeah, Toto 360, you'll get $20 back a month that'll go into account you don't have access to.
Aw, man.
Yeah.
Toto 2? Toto 2.
So then Din ends up going back to Tatooine, and he's like, so, Amy Sedaris, you have
having a Naboo starfighter
ship for me? And he's like, where's the Razor Crest? And I'm like, screw the Razor Crest. You're gonna fly my favorite Star Wars ship.
So
legitimately, the Naboo starfighter is my favorite ship.
That's so freaking cool. I love that ship so much.
Me too. That and the B-Wing, those are my favorites. I would have taken either one. That would have been, the B-Wing does not get enough love.
I've got to be honest, I'm not the biggest fan of the B-Wing, but I'm happy for you for loving it.
I love the B-Wing. It's so weird looking. It's so fun. But anyway, I love the Naboo starfighter. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it so much.
Love him getting pulled over for speeding with driving without a license.
Yes, by stunt double stand-in Luke Skywalker and the guy who from last New Republic Ranger, whose name I cannot remember.
Yeah.
That was fun. You want to fill out that paperwork?
Yeah. I knew Grogu would be in the back of that, in the droid.
It's just what I wanted.
Pit. Yes,
him tapping on the window.
Yes,
even though there's no sound in space.
Doesn't matter. I don't care.
Doesn't matter. He's so cute. He's like again.
Great.
So anyway, we'll talk about Luke last, because we've been like dancing around Luke, but I feel like because of who we are, we'll talk about him at the end. But I want to talk about Grogu chooses the chainmail, which I feel like we all just kind of knew was coming. I did think he was going to have both. I
wondered if he might have both.
Yeah, but I said it in our texting thread. His little hands would not be able to hold the lightsaber.
That's true.
It would be too big for him, even though it's a tiny little lightsaber. But the reveal of him in like. He's like, kid, like, what are you doing here? Like, I'm on this, basically on this Wild West wagon.
Yes.
And like, like from Oregon Trail. That's kind of what it reminded me of, and he does a little force leap for a hug, and it's just so freaking cute. And he calms the Rancor down with the force, and then takes a nap next to him.
Takes a nap next to him. Oh, so good.
My heart. So do you feel better knowing that they're connected? I think I was holding a bit of anxiety at the end of season 2, knowing they weren't together, and now that they're back together again, I'm like, I just feel way better about life.
I mean, yeah, it's as it should be, right? Like it's the way you want them together. So
yes,
absolutely.
Yes, I absolutely want them together.
Yeah. I didn't think they'd get them back together until season 3 of The Mandalorian. I thought that they would, move the story along, but we would end the Book of Boba Fett still not seeing them together, not getting that satisfaction of seeing them together. But they did it.
Yeah, it's a full resolution.
Yeah,
and I truly appreciate that because I didn't really want that stress. And so there's Luke. Oh, the Cobb Vanth. How do you feel about so he gets shot down?
Yeah.
Now he's going to have some droid parts in him.
He's going to be.
Maybe he'll be the new mayor of Mos Espa or Mos or Mos Eisley.
I don't know. Freetown.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, I love Timothy Olyphant in this show. So I saw him only get shot in the shoulder, and if you watch with the captions, there's on this show in particular, there are very often
spoilers
lines,
abounding.
There are lines that are not you don't hear that are only in the captions and that tell you what's going on. So when he got shot down, there was dialogue being like, "Is he okay? Is he okay? Is he okay?" And they would not keep asking that if he wasn't going to actually be okay. So yeah, I sort of figured that he'd be fine.
I don't have a special affinity for him the way that other people do. People flock to him, and I'm like, yeah, he's fine. He's a town sheriff.
Sure.
It's fine.
I like him.
I like Timothy Olyphant. I liked it, but I'm not is he going to be okay?
Sure.
If he died, he died. So
I feel like people
he's back. Cool.
People got attached to him the same way they got attached to Boba Fett back in 1980. Just wow, he looks so cool. He's so cool, and just that was sort of the end of it, which is fine. You can get people get attached.
Yeah, that's true.
To characters.
That's true. That's why I like Fennec. Wow, she's cool.
Sure. Yes.
She looks cool.
Yes.
I also like Ming-Na Wen, so I guess it's also that. But wow, she's cool. Anyway, so what many people consider to be the best episode of the Book of Boba Fett did not contain Boba Fett at all, which I find hilarious. But is the Luke Skywalker, Ahsoka Tano, Grogu, Din Djarin episode? How'd you feel while watching it?
I just when we saw Din going off to try and find Grogu, I was like, are we gonna get Luke again? Are we gonna get that again? That felt like a one-time thing, but oh my gosh, is it actually gonna happen? And he looked better. He
did look way better.
It was still a little disorienting at times, but it was still way better than the first time. I actually haven't gone back to watch, side by side, but at least from what I remember of the couple of times I watched his debut on the season 2 finale of The Mandalorian, I feel like he looked better. And it was just, it's so cool to get to see with, in live action, Luke Skywalker in that era and building the academy and all of that was so cool. Him taking on his first student.
Who he doesn't keep, which I find hilarious.
True.
His first student's you will be the first student of my Jedi Academy. Leaves.
Peace. Yeah.
I'm doing great so far. Really good. Yeah. It's really strong. It's gonna be fun.
It's gonna be fantastic.
But I loved that even that the shape of the school echoes the dome that we see in Last Jedi, and so you see the progression of what it how it started, how's it going.
Oh no,
I guess, but oh no, it did make me feel better that Grogu chooses Din because Kylo Ren's not going to murder him. Thank goodness.
How about his flashback to being in the Jedi Temple during Order 66?
That was wild. Which is somebody had actually raised the question, who? Again, we don't know who saved him, which is it's not a question I really feel like I need answered. I guess they will answer it.
They will,
but I think Order 66 feels so rushed in Revenge of the Sith. Like, you see only like segments of some Jedi getting taken out. Like, it is really compelling to see it again and again and again in other iterations. You know, Dave Filoni actually turns into a chicken if he doesn't show us a new perspective of Order 66 every year. Otherwise, the curse gets reversed and he turns back into a chicken.
But I think he has a really good sense, as a Star Wars fan who worked with George Lucas to create the Clone Wars and ran it together with him for years. I think he has a really good sense for, like, ooh, there is untapped opportunity here with this story. Like, George told that story fast in the back half of the final movie, where he just was like, okay, we got to get him from here to there, and we only have X number of hours to do it, and it's got to be PG-13, so let's go. Like, that was what he had to work with. And I think Dave gets that and understands, okay, but there's opportunity to pause and take a little vacation in pockets of this story. You know, that's what the Clone Wars was the gap between two movies. And he's really good at sort of taking the little moments and filling them with more story and character and giving you a different perspective on the parts of the story that have been glossed over in other media. And he continues to do that.
Yeah, it's his episodes continue to be some of the best Star Wars content that we're getting, and I don't think that's. I mean, like Jon Favreau wrote every episode of The Mandalorian, and the best one of the season was the Dave Filoni episode.
Yeah,
part of that I think is because we're seeing characters that we have a stronger attachment to. So I don't want to say that like Jon Favreau, you don't get it, because he gets it.
Oh, he gets
fine.
it. Yeah, he gets it.
He's obviously very good at his job, but we're watching characters that watching Luke Skywalker talk to Ahsoka Tano. Like, I can't believe that. I'm looking at that with my eyes, you know, and Luke being like, "Will I ever see you again?" And I'm like, "They did it." I don't know. That was where my mind went first.
Yeah.
Maybe a little dirty, but like, "Will I ever see you again?" I'm like, they hooked up. I know it, and it's gonna be weird next time.
Huh. I actually didn't even think of that, but
I don't really think that they did, but it kind of feels like they did. But it's hard to tell because Luke Skywalker's voice is like, I don't know. Make a YouTube video quick, Frank.
Yeah.
You have to say, is Ahsoka Mara Jade? Kathleen Kennedy, blah blah blah, and it'll get a million. It'll get a million hits. You'll be fine. But it's hard to tell because Luke Skywalker is voiced by a robot now,
well,
and
kind of.
He sounds good. People like it's a little emotionless, not in inflection, but you could tell there isn't just human warmth behind it.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like Siri sounds like a human, but I know she's not.
Yeah,
and it is a little bit like that, just a little bit.
Yeah, it's true. So what for anyone who doesn't know, they did sort of a vocal deep fake thing with where they sampled Mark Hamill's voice, and then you're hearing an AI taking audio of Mark Hamill's voice from 1983, and you know, they manipulate it to say whatever they want him to say now. So yes, people have commented that it sounds a little lifeless. It sounds like it's a computer talking, because it is. While that's true, and I can tell it's not a person, at the same time there is an element of like, think about how he talked in Return of the Jedi.
That's it. I agree, because he sounds exactly like his message to Jabba.
Yes, exactly.
Which, I mean, I guess he's delivering a message to Jabba, so it's not exactly how it's. But he kind of sounds like when he's also talking to Leia on Endor, and he's like, "My father had it.
Yes,
my sister had it. You will bring Captain Solo and the Wookiee to me."
I think what we're hearing is he's not the emotional farm boy anymore. He is this.
What, at the rate they're gaining? Yeah, he's not that kid anymore. It's less nasally. It's a little. It's more of a zen.
He's grown
breathy,
up, and he's just at peace. And then even when he's older and we see him in the sequels, he is not that at peace anymore. And he's gone back to, like, there are moments, but he's gone back to being a little bit emotional because he's like lost the thread.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think it's perfectly aligned with his character. And I think what struck me about Luke's Luke being in this episode here is he speaks about things that we haven't heard Luke speak about previously. And I think that's what actually got me going, where I was like, wow, it feels so validated. Like Luke holding Yoda's lightsaber feels like, or speaking about Yoda again, even kind of like with Grogu, like, you're the same species, just working that out. That's a lot of validation there. Or even when Ahsoka says something like you're a lot like your father or something like that. The look that Luke gives her was really, really good CG.
Yes.
Like, or, you know, like, it was really good acting. Like, it's a really sharp, pointed look, and it tells you a lot about Luke's current relationship with his deceased father. Like, in how am I like him? Because that could be a really dangerous thing from Luke's perspective, and obviously from Ahsoka's as well, but not in the same way. And there's that's what I think is so striking about that episode that Dave really gets, is the subtext of what goes unsaid. And it was really strong. It was just a lot of fun.
Super strong. So like with all this show gave us so great moments like that. Every moment that Luke was on the screen in that episode I was captivated. It gave us Cad Bane. It gave us this crossover event. So, I mean, I go back to,
that's why I said it's a week 4.
It's a week
4 because it just took a while to get where it was going.
Yes.
And the titular character of the show was one of the least interesting parts of the show.
One of the least relevant.
Yes. And it all happens because of him. He sets the ball in motion. Things work out apart from the din stuff, because it's
distraction.
But it all coalesces. It's the Book of Boba Fett because they all revolve around his actions and motivations.
I still find that title a little perplexing, but yeah.
Yeah, well, and so some Star Wars titles are perplexing.
That's true.
I think they did it because it sounds cool.
I think so too. I think
personally.
Right,
yeah, this is the chapter. This is his chapter. This is his little insert book. That's just all that is to me. But I liked it. I like it quite a bit, and I say that there's a reclamation, I think, of who Boba is, reconciling the almost pacifist to the I'm just a simple man trying to make my way in the universe, because that's where we meet him in Mando. That's where he is, and this is him literally trying to make his way in the universe.
That's right.
Him working it out, and I think it works. Soft 4. Go team.
Agreed.
On a continuing Star Wars note, they dropped the Kenobi poster just a little bit before recording this episode. Looks cool. Obi-Wan in the desert.
Doesn't tell us much, but it's cool.
Nope. He looks like I thought he'd look, say the thing.
It does tell us that the show starts May 25th.
Yes.
Which is exciting, but also I would have thought May the 4th.
Yeah, it must line up with their other schedules. May the 4th a Wednesday? It is a Wednesday.
It is
this
a Wednesday.
Year.
Yeah.
It is a Wednesday.
Yeah.
Missed opportunity. I'm sure they thought about it, but maybe it just wasn't going to be ready by then. And so
I wonder if
it's not worth rushing.
Is there a Marvel show that won't be over yet?
That is possible, but I don't think so.
Because the next one's
March.
What's
the next? I don't know when the next Marvel show is. What is the
Moon
next
Knight?
Marvel show? Moon Knight. I don't know when that is, though. It might not be. Maybe it isn't over. Yeah. So,
I don't know.
But yeah, I don't know. I'm not going to.
Anyway, it's late May, which I'm so exciting to kick off the summer.
Yeah, I'm excited. There's a real big part of me that I just don't want to watch any trailers, previews, nothing. Like, I'm going to watch it.
Oh, I'm going to watch it.
You don't need to show me anything. I will watch the show.
Yeah.
Although, truthfully, Disney Star Wars the show has been really good about not spoiling anything.
They have.
The trailer, watch today's episode of Boba Fett when Luke was in it. It was like the bus landing.
Told you nothing.
Yeah, so
it showed you some background characters stepping off a ship. Like it was nothing.
Yeah.
So yes, they've definitely gotten good at that. Although I don't know how much that really compels you to want to watch when it's like, next time these Rhodians in the background will step off a ship. Like, oh wow,
cool. Yeah. Damn it! But it's Star Wars. I'm gonna watch it.
I'm gonna watch it regardless. Yeah,
I'm gonna watch it probably twice. So,
yeah, right. Exactly.
Look at those Rhodians.
Yeah.
Frank, where can the people find us if they want to hear us talk about other things besides Star Wars?
Yeah, you could head on over to beerwithgeeks.com and find every episode, including the show notes for this episode, where I did find that Dave Filoni Lord of the Rings essay and put that in the show notes. So there you go. You can rate and review us and subscribe or follow us on all the podcast directories, from Apple Podcasts to Spotify to Google to Amazon, all the great places. So you can, please rate and review. Spotify now has ratings and reviews, so please go on over and do that as well. And subscribe wherever you listen to your podcasts. You can email us beergeeks@gmail.com and follow us on Twitter at beerwithgeeks. That's how you do it. And hey, we'll be back next week to talk about more geeky things, and I just cannot wait. I cannot wait for Kenobi. Like I can't wait for Kenobi.
I know. I think I don't know if this is a slight spoiler. It's not really a spoiler. I'm pretty sure that everyone knows that this is happening, but in case it is, blah blah blah. 3, 2, 1. Spoiler. Ewan McGregor was like, it was really great to play, to do Anakin and Obi-Wan together again. And I thought that the choice of Anakin instead of Darth Vader was telling. I was like, we're going to get some Clone Wars action. We're going to see some live-action Clone Wars with them again.
That would be
And I would really love them to wear the Clone Wars outfits. Like the armor that they wear, like the Proto-Vader shoulders. Yeah, that would be
I mean, if they do a flashback, they're going to have to be in the right wardrobe.
I would assume. But but I just I would want to see like Anakin in his like maroon and blue instead of the black leather vests. Like I want to see that.
Same.
That would be good.
Oh, that'd be so cool.
Yeah, maybe with Cody or Rex.
Yes.
Just saying. They're right there.
Yes. Would love that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, anyway, we'll find out.
We'll see.
We'll see. Well, Frank, it's been a pleasure. So until next time, cheers.